Have you ever left a toxic relationship and then been blindsided by the roller coaster of emotions that came afterwards? Many people think that walking away would bring instant relief, freedom, peace, a fresh start. But instead, you find yourself crying at random moments, feeling angry one day, guilty the next, and wondering, what is wrong with me? Why do I miss someone who hurt me so bad? Nothing is wrong with you. What you're feeling is grief, a kind of grief that most people don't understand. It's the grief of losing a person, a dream, and even pieces of yourself that you had to hide in order to maintain the peace. In my last video, I talked about the 7 layers of grief that can come with leaving a toxic relationship or group, all the different kinds of loss that can hit you individually or all at once. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link it below because it sets the stage for what we're covering today. The truth is, grief after leaving abuse is complicated. It doesn't move in a straight line, and it doesn't follow a predictable timeline. One day you might feel strong and certain, and then the next, completely consumed by sadness or confusion or anger. Psychologists call this the grief cycle, and understanding its stages can help you make sense of the roller coaster of emotions that you might be feeling. The grief cycle stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. In this video, we're going to explore each stage and how it relates to leaving a toxic dynamic so you can finally understand what's happening inside of you and release that guilt and shame so you can take steps towards healing one stage, one moment, one breath at a time. Stage 1, denial. The first stage is denial. In this stage, your mind tries to protect you by refusing to fully face the truth. It's like an emotional cushion that softens the shock of what's really happening. When you've left a toxic relationship or a controlling group, the full reality of what you went through can feel too overwhelming to face all at once. So your brain does what it thinks will keep you safe. It goes into denial. Here are some examples of how denial can show up. You focus on the good memories, replaying the sweet moments or the exciting early days. You cling to the hope that they'll change or that the relationship can somehow go back to the way it used to be. You minimize what happened, telling yourself, it wasn't that bad. They were under a lot of stress. They didn't really mean it. Every relationship has problems, right? You reread old messages or scroll through photos trying to feel close to them or to remember the person you thought they were. You convince yourself they'll apologize or that if you just wait long enough, everything will magically return to normal. This stage is especially common when there's love bombing at the start, when they showered you with all that affection and attention and promises of a perfect future. Those memories can be so powerful that part of you refuses to let them go, even when the present reality is painful. Denial serves a purpose in the beginning. It helps you survive the initial pain by giving you a buffer. If you had to face the full weight of the truth all at once, it might feel crushing, almost unbearable. But here's the problem. Staying in denial too long can keep you stuck. It can keep you trapped in that abuse cycle, going back to someone who has already shown you who they are, or even returning to a harmful group because you're clinging to the hope of what it used to feel like. Recognizing denial is the first step towards healing. It doesn't mean you have to face everything today. It just simply means that you begin to gently tell yourself the truth and trust that you're strong enough to handle it one step at a time. Stage 2, anger. The second stage of grief is anger. Once the reality of what happened begins to sink in, the protective fog of denial starts to lift. That's when the anger can rush in. You might feel angry at them for what they did, for the lies, the manipulation, and the ways they betrayed your trust. You might also feel angry at yourself for staying as long as you did, for ignoring the red flags, or for all of the chances you gave them or the group when deep down you knew something was not right. In this stage, your mind finally begins to connect the dots, and you see just how deeply you were harmed. That realization can be shocking, and anger becomes a natural response to the injustice of it all. Examples of anger in this stage could be rage over being deceived, used, or controlled, feeling furious at the group or community that manipulated you, or at the people who enabled the abuse. Intense frustration towards yourself for not leaving sooner or not seeing it coming. imagining confrontations or rehearsing what you wish you could say or do to them. Now, anger is valid. It's not something to fear or to suppress. It's your body and mind telling you what happened to me was wrong. That was not okay. It's a sign that you're beginning to reclaim your power. But here's where you have to be careful. Anger becomes destructive when you turn it inwards. Instead of using it to shame or punish yourself, try to see it as a fuel for healing and for change. You're allowed to be angry. You should be angry about what was done to you. The key is to let that anger move through you in a safe way without letting it control you or keep you tied to the very people or group you're trying to break free from. When you process anger in a healthy way, it becomes a bridge to clarity, to your boundaries, and to your strength. It's the fire that helps you step fully into your healing and empowerment journey. Stage 3, bargaining. The third stage of grief is bargaining. Bargaining is what happens when your mind tries to negotiate with the pain. It's a desperate attempt to rewrite the ending and regain a sense of control. Instead of facing the finality of the loss, you look for ways to fix it, to undo it, to make it not be true. In this stage, you might find yourself thinking things like, maybe if I just tried harder, they'll change. If I set better boundaries, we can make this work. Maybe if I just love them more. If they get therapy, maybe everything's going to be okay. What if I had done things differently? Maybe then they wouldn't have treated me like this. Bargaining can sometimes lead to going back to that toxic relationship or group even after you've left. You might return multiple times trying to be the perfect partner or perfect member, believing that if you just say or do the exact right thing, you can somehow get back to the way things were in the beginning. It can also show up in making excuses for their behavior, telling yourself they were just stressed out or they didn't really mean to hurt you, or it's their past trauma speaking, or that you share some of the blame. This stage is so powerful because our brains crave certainty. When everything feels chaotic, bargaining gives the illusion of control. Like maybe there's still a way to make it all okay if you just find the missing piece. But here's the hard truth. Bargaining keeps you stuck in a loop. Every time you bargain, you're holding on to a fantasy rather than facing reality, and that can prevent you from truly healing. Recognize when you're bargaining is an important step forward, just that awareness alone. It's not about shaming yourself. It's about gently reminding yourself that no amount of effort can change someone who is committed to staying the same. The only thing you can control is your next step towards freedom and healing. Stage 4, depression. The fourth stage of grief is depression. This stage often arrives when the full reality sinks in, when denial has faded, anger has burned through, and bargaining no longer works to keep the hope alive. It's the moment you fully realize what's been lost. Not just the relationship or the group itself, but everything tied to it. The person you thought they were, the fantasy of what could have been, the role you played in their life or community. The dreams, time, energy, and parts of yourself you gave away. Depression can feel so heavy and all-encompassing. You might feel drained, hopeless, or unable to see a way forward. Simple things like getting out of bed, eating a meal, going to the grocery store, or answering even a text message can feel impossible. You might catch yourself endlessly scrolling through your phone, staring blankly at unread messages, or feeling disconnected from yourself and the world around you. This stage is incredibly painful, but it's also a sign of progress. It means that you're finally processing the depth of what happened rather than running away from it. Depression shows up because your body and mind are trying to heal from the trauma. And that kind of healing takes enormous energy. You're healing your nervous system. It's important to remember you are not broken for feeling this way. Grief naturally slows you down so you can sit with the truth, so you can begin to release what was never safe for you. In this stage, you might also feel deep loneliness or shame, especially if people around you don't understand why you're still hurting. They may say things like, "You should be over it by now. Just be glad you're free." But grief doesn't work that way. You're not just grieving a person or a group, you're grieving an entire world you were a part of, and even your own identity within it. And again, if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to watch my other video on the 7 layers of grief. As dark as this stage feels, it will not last forever. It's okay to cry, to rest, to seek help. You don't have to go through this alone. This is part of the grief where deep healing begins, even if you can't yet see it. Stage 5, acceptance. The 5th stage of grief is acceptance, and let me be very clear. Acceptance does not mean you are accepting, excusing, minimizing, or justifying what happened. It does not mean you're okay with the abuse or that you forgive and forget. It also doesn't mean that the pain suddenly just disappears or that you're over it. Acceptance means coming to terms with reality, even if it still hurts. It's the moment you begin to see things clearly, without denial, without bargaining, without false hope, without clinging to the fantasy of what you wish it could have been. It's when you stop waiting for them to change and you begin to trust yourself instead. You start to see the relationship or the group for what it truly was, not what they wanted you to believe it was. It doesn't mean you suddenly stop feeling pain. Acceptance is about facing the reality head on. This stage is about reclaiming your power, reconnecting with parts of yourself that you had to hide or bury in order to survive. It's about setting boundaries and learning to trust your instincts again. It's starting to build a future that is free from their influence and control. And acceptance often feels bittersweet. There's relief in finally seeing the truth, but then there's also the grief. The grief for the fantasy you held on to, for the years and energy that you invested, and for the version of yourself that lived under their control. It's like stepping into sunlight after a long storm. The warmth feels good, but you're still carrying memories of the cold and darkness that you endured. And it's important to note that acceptance is not a one-time event. It's a process. Some days you'll feel strong and free. Other days a memory or a trigger might pull you back into that grief. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It means that you're human. Healing is not linear. Reaching acceptance is about telling yourself the truth. Yes, this happened. It was wrong. It hurt me deeply, but I will no longer let it define me or control my future. You are not accepting the abuse, you are accepting reality. So you can finally stop fighting what happened and start focusing on your own healing and growth. This is where grief begins to transform into strength and freedom. Acceptance doesn't erase the past, but it allows you to step forward and create a future that is safe, authentic, and entirely yours. Grief is not linear. It's so important to understand this, that grief is not a straight line. These stages, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, it doesn't happen in that perfect cycle or that perfect order, one right after another, like checking boxes on a list to do. Healing is messy. You might move through one stage really quickly and then find yourself right back there weeks or even months later. You might feel angry in the morning, you bargain with yourself in the afternoon, and then you crash into depression by the evening, all in the same day. And that is completely normal. Some people stay in a single stage for minutes, others for days, weeks, or even months. There's no timeline for healing, and there's no quote unquote right way to grieve. You can't compare yourself to somebody else. What matters most isn't how fast you move through the stages, but that you just keep moving day by day, even if it's slow. Every moment of awareness, every time you name what you're feeling, is a step towards healing. So when you find yourself bouncing back to a stage you thought you were done with, don't beat yourself up. You're not going backwards. You're processing things at a deeper and deeper level, like a spiral. Grief works like that spiral, not a straight line. Each time you revisit a stage, you bring a little more understanding, more perspectives, a little more strength, and a little more freedom with you. Healing is not about rushing to the finish line. It's about showing up for yourself, one small step at a time, even when that step feels shaky or uncertain. If you're grieving the end of a toxic relationship or group, please know you are not alone. This process takes time, and it's okay to seek support. I offer one-on-one private sessions where you can work together to help you move through these stages of grief, process the pain in a safe and supportive way, and create a plan for rebuilding your life with clarity and strength. Also, the entire first module of my signature program, Become Ungroomable, is dedicated to walking you step by step through this process. You'll learn how to navigate the stages of grief, release the guilt and the self-blame, and come out the other side healed and empowered, ready to reclaim your life and protect yourself from future manipulation. You can find links to book a free intro call with me or to sign up for the program below. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Remember, healing is not linear, but with the right tools and support, you can move forward. You can build a life that is truly yours. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.